Alright, quick TA update on Bonfida. So in this video, we're going to be checking out how FIDA is doing against the US dollar, and then we're also going to talk about what FIDA is doing against the BTC pair, because at this moment in time, I kind of see the FIDA BTC pair being a leading indicator of what to expect over on Bonfida USD. So let's jump right into today's video. As the time of recording this, Bonfida is up about 1.5% on the daily, but it's still really not too impressive. If we switch over to the Heikanashis, I would imagine that we're predominantly sitting in a sea of red right now. Occasionally you can see we have these little green candles come in, but we've predominantly been trending sideways slash down for the longest period of time. If we go over to the weekly Heikanashi candles, you can see literally the past 11 weeks. We've just been chopping around, trending sideways, and it's been very boring for Bonfida. If we look down here at the volume over on the Heikanashi candles, you know, it's obviously indicative of the price. We can see that it is predominantly sellers within this market. The daily almost looks like the weekly as well, which is brutal because Bonfida's really just been sliding. I mean, we haven't had this bounce since, you know, $4. Since then, we've just been making, you know, we've got a high up here, which was a lower high. We've got a lower high at 260. Lower high at 210, lower high at 150, lower high at 70 cent, and quite recently, you know, 2 days ago, we put in a lower high at 55 cent, and even if you want to talk about what we're doing today, we put in a lower high at 51 cents. So why are we getting slaughtered? What price targets would we need to get above? That's what we're going to start to talk about. Now, the 13 EMA has basically been the most brutal level of resistance on Bonfida, and you know, I look at the 13 EMA on a lot of cryptos, but it's rare to see the 13 EMA being so well respected, and it's almost like the Bonfida price fears the 13 EMA. You know, we haven't managed to flip this. We haven't had a successful retest of this in the longest period of time. We just keep on coming back, retesting, confirming that we're still in a bear trend, and breaking down. You can also see, yes, 3 days ago rather, we literally almost to the exact cent pumped up. Well, it was the exact cent. It was almost to the exact microcent, whatever you would call it, 100th of a cent. It came right up to 55 cent, which was literally exactly on the 2.618. You can see if we zoom out in terms of the market structure from this previous low, from this high, this is basically the only fib that you can draw from right now. You can also draw from the low to the high, but I wouldn't find too much use in that because, you know, your first fib is coming up to the 236, and that is at the top of the EMA ribbons. And the top of the EMA ribbons has not been something that we've visited since the 3rd of April. Now, Bonfida is not only heavily underperforming against the US dollar, and I'm going to talk about my my US dollar target towards the end of this video, but it's also doing terrible against Bitcoin. If we head over to the weekly time frame, you know, I've been warning all of my subscribers, all of the people that are involved within this channel. I've been saying for the past month now that altcoins are getting battered against Bitcoin. They're getting absolutely slaughtered, and it's the same with Bitcoin. I mean, on the weekly time frame, you can just see there is so much selling volume over on the Binance pair. So it's just not looking good. It's really not looking good. We've got exponential volume coming in. I mean, at this moment in time, bear in mind it's only Monday, we have 157,000 Bonfida sold. So, you know, if we can creep up to, you know, 1 million, 2 million, which is pretty much the general trend that we've been in terms of volume sold over on the weekly time frames over on Binance, then this is just going to be continuation. Like I always say, volume is indicative of price. I don't need to do a bunch of TA on this. It's basically a straight move down. And what I've been calling for on Bonfida, because I actually used to cover this all the time, but it's just been slowly bleeding out, so there hasn't been too much to talk about. But the last time I covered this, or at least the last drawing I did on this chart, was back in the 2nd of March, and I was calling for this capitulation from this low to this high, all the way down to your 1.618 fib. In fact, I was predicting on the 2nd of March that we were going to have 88% drop, and so far we've come down 61%. So that prediction has panned out pretty well. Honestly, if I just moved this over like this, then it would have basically perfectly played out. I maybe jumped the gun on this, but we were coming back down, and you know, obviously that is what we done. All we did was come back to the 786. We actually had a wick up to the 618, wick up to the top of the EMA ribbons, candle body closes below the 786. There's a plethora of candle body closes below the EMA ribbons, the 13 EMA rather, and the EMA ribbons as well. But the Bitcoin pair is not really doing anything different than what we're experiencing over on the US dollar. And in fact, bear in mind, this is Monday, and there's almost 160,000 worth of Bonfida sold against Bitcoin over on Binance. Bear in mind, I can't emphasize this enough. This is Monday. We've got a whole week worth of trading to go through, and you know, the previous bearish candles we saw were, you know, 180,000, 233, 240, and you can see what this did to the price. It moved us all the way up from here, all the way down to here, and it might not seem like so much of a big move, because the more and more we go down, the less and less this chart looks like we're having big moves, but we're actually having pretty big swings. We almost had a 10% swing due to this price volume, and at this moment in time, we've got a huge amount of volume coming in, and we've only moved down 4%. So I am thinking within the next couple of days, within the next week, within the next month, that we're going to slowly bleed out and capitulate below the EMA ribbons. I think it's about time that we probably ping down from the EMA ribbons. And what I mean by ping is, you know, we've been trending sideways on them for a long time. I think within the next week or two, we're going to have a very strong move down, and we're going to finish this move that I've been predicting was going to be happening for quite some time now. So we've got about another 69% move from where we are at this moment in time. Bear in mind, from the start of this move, like I said, we've already moved down about 61%. So the entire move, you know, we've already done most of it, so it's really not going to be too hard for us to come down this much further, and this is definitely a shame. In my opinion, I do believe that Bonfida, obviously, this was breaking very bearish way before Solana did. This absolutely capitulated. Let's see, from our low to our high, we didn't respect anything. I mean, we came down, sure, we bounced on some of these fibs, we confirmed the 0.5 as resistance, bounced down, confirmed it as resistance again. We didn't really do too much on the 618, which is quite confusing, because this is the golden pocket, the area where you would expect the most amount of volume traded, but we slid through it like it was butter, like we were the naked butter man on Family Guy, who's just super slippery, or what's his name, super slippery guy. Doesn't really matter, I'm going off topic, but we've capitulated below everything. 618.5, 786. The macro market structure is unfortunately massively invalidated over on the Bonfida naming service, and you can see it's coming back to its January 2021 price, and it's coming right back down for this mint where it minted over on FTX. So we've really only got, at this moment in time, well, I can draw a fib and we can see what we've got from the micro time frames. Let's see. We haven't come down to the 1.618 yet. We've respected the 2.618, so I do think this 3.618 down here, let's see where this is. Okay, so this 3.618 is in the minuses, so we're not going to be worrying about that move. Obviously, we're not going to move into minus price targets, but there are a few price targets that I do want to talk about, and let's highlight them. I mark this orange. Whenever I mark a horizontal line as orange, you know that it's a Fibonacci. Whenever I mark a line as green, you know that it is simply a flat level of resistance, or support rather. So for example, these red trend lines here are the wicks, and these red trend lines here are the candle body closes. Green trend lines down here, candle body closes. Green trend line down here, the wick from the mint over on FTX. So I'm only just reiterating that. I know that people who are used to my channel know that this is how I do my analysis, but as I haven't covered Bonfida rather in quite some time, I just thought I'd clarify that. So in my opinion, within the next week or so, I do think we are going to be moving down to at least the 1.618, which is an okay move. It'd be about 14% of a move to the downside. In fact, we've had a slight move, so yeah, basically 14% to the downside. Now, I do unfortunately think we're going to massively capitulate below that, because BTC, FIDA BTC, it has been a leading indicator of what's been going on FIDA so far, and the only area of mass interest that I see playing out right now is the 1.618 all the way down here on the FIDA Bitcoin pair. Like I said, I've been predicting this since roughly the 2nd of March. Like I said, you know, we bled out sideways on the lows here before we did capitulate, but it seems like the general move did play out that we were predicting. So from where we are now, about another 69% drop against Bitcoin. If we're going to drop 69% against Bitcoin, and I believe Bitcoin's going to, let's just say Bitcoin comes down 10%. Let's be very conservative. This would mean that Bonfida could come down between 70-80% or so. So the next level supports down here, that's not enough. The next level down here, 2.618, 51%. This is about a 75% drop down to the lows over on FTX. Let me line this up perfectly so I can get an exact target, because I know when you're dropping down to these price targets, you want it to be as accurate as possible, because especially when you're coming down to these mint prices, the tiniest move can make a massive price. So for example, we've just moved from 75. That wasn't too much of a big move, but I am predicting about a 76% drop on Bonfida. I think it's going to come down to about 11 cents, but let's take it one price target at a time. Like I said, I think 1.618 is slightly conservative. So let's talk about this next drop down to 34 cents. Unfortunately, seems like Bonfida is getting beaten down. Bear in mind, I'm not a perma bear on Bonfida. I actually do think it is a great project. I've read the white paper. I have done a lot of research into the Bonfida naming service, and obviously this is a Solana based token, an SPL token. You use Bonfida, or you use the Bonfida naming service to get your own custom your own custom address name. So for example, I could have a cowboy.sol wallet instead of having a C1HA5 blah blah blah, all of that nonsense and spill. You can get a specific wallet for the Solana on the Bonfida naming service. So I think Bonfida is an underrated gem, and I do really think that if Solana is going to do well coming into the next bull run, then FIDA is going to perform very well as well. However, looking at this objectively, I do not think this is going to be performing well for the next couple of months. In fact, I think it's going to get slaughtered for the next couple of months, and I do think it's going to have a very good chance of having a nice rally coming into the next bull run, which might take a little while. You can see this is rank 609. I definitely think this should be higher. The market cap is also relatively low. The only black flag, or red flag rather, that I see over on FIDA is the fact that the circulating supply is only at 4%. Apart from that, I think Bonfida is a great project. You can see here, this is Bonfida against Bitcoin. This is the USD as well. And it's just not looking good. It's really not looking good. There's no other way of saying that. Like I said, I'm not here to sugarcoat things. I'm not here to be the most agreeable person. I know that there's going to be people watching this that are a big fan of Bonfida, and they won't necessarily like what I'm saying. However, I'm looking at this objectively. It is what it is, and that's basically it. That's really all I see for Bonfida. I also think that this has been, performing very poorly over the past week or so, also because of Solana's network outages. So, Solana doing bad and Bonfida doing bad is really directly correlated. I'd say as soon as we start seeing Solana move up in the macro term, then we can definitely expect Bonfida to move up in the macro term. And you might be thinking, well, Solana's up 9%. Is that not a macro move? Well, no. If we zoom out to the weekly time frame, you can very much see that Solana is getting wrecked right now. So this 9% move is not going to be enough to turn the tides on FIDA. That's basically all I've got for FIDA. Best of luck if you're trading it. And just one last thing before we do wrap up the video. I really don't recommend altcoins at this moment in time while the Bitcoin dominance is going up. I mean, while the Bitcoin dominance is going up, Bitcoin is going to massively outperform altcoins. I've been warning my subs about this for the past month now, so congratulations if you've been sitting on the sidelines. If you're new to the channel, like I said, welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoy your stay. As always, cowboy out. Peace.